Good afternoon, I'm Vashan Brown with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. The Medical Association of Jamaica, MAJ, has broken its silence on Jamaica's COVID-19 response. This is the first comment from the MAJ since the first case of the coronavirus was announced. The association's president, Dr. Andrew Manning, says while the government has been doing its best in dealing with the spread of the virus, there are challenges such as limited resources that the medical fraternity continues to face. Here's Shamela Pullen with this report.
The Health Minister, Dr. Christopher Tufton, has been insisting that there are enough testing kits available to test persons for the coronavirus COVID-19. But President of the Medical Association of Jamaica, Dr. Andrew Manning, thinks otherwise.
Ideally, you would want to have more tests, but there's a limitation in terms of the numbers of tests, not just in Jamaica. All right, there are over 100 countries in the world and everybody wants tests. So I don't think we have enough test kits or as many test kits as we would want, but there are practical realities at this point.
Among the other issues faced by medical doctors who have to examine and treat patients who may have contracted COVID-19 is that of masks and gloves. Dr. Manning says when persons steal these items from hospitals, it means that persons would be prevented from getting treatment because they would be needed in order for the medical doctors to carry out their functions.
We are facing the onslaught of a virus, the likes of which we haven't seen before. So we need more resources. I know that efforts are being made to improve the stocks of what we have on the ground, but we need more resources.
Dr. Manning says the association does not recommend the wider public to be wearing these masks and gloves unnecessarily.
The masks should be used in situations where an individual turns up to an establishment or a health facility with a cough or features suggested of COVID-19, and then you place a mask on that individual. That is when it is most effective in spreading the virus. If someone puts on a mask and is exposed to somebody with the virus and walks around the place with the same mask or the same glove for that matter, you'll only end up spreading the virus, okay? Some of these masks would be better utilized within the healthcare.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, nurses testing COVID-19 patients have been properly equipped with gear to protect them from the highly contagious respiratory illness. That's the word from the Nurses Association of Jamaica President. Its President, Carmen Johnson, gave an update this morning on TVJ's Smile Jamaica.
We are in a better place than when we had just started with protective gear. And so our nurses and our employees are better able to protect themselves at present. Protective gear includes wearing the mask, the head cover, the gown, or the coverall. It also means your overshoes and your gloves.
So we are okay with that, with all the nurses who are involved here?
Well, I wouldn't say all the nurses, but those who are really treating with the corona cases, they have what they need now. What we will continue to is to monitor, but as I've said to them, use what you have now. When you don't have it, then we will treat with that.
The NAJ President, Carmen Johnson. You also heard the voice of Smile Jamaica host Neville Bell. The story now of a sick, homeless man in St. Catherine who has had his options for a home cut off due to the state's policy regarding admissions at infirmaries. The Ministry of Local Government has banned the acceptance of new wards coming into state-run facilities due to the need to protect residents from COVID-19. Here's TVJ's Dwayne Anderson.
This is Andrew Moore. He has fallen on hard times, especially because of a medical condition. It all went wrong 3 weeks ago when he was admitted at the Linstead Hospital in St. Catherine. But upon being released, he had nowhere to go. Those who used to help him can no longer afford to do so because of his medical condition and the piling bills that come with it.
He has a condition where one side of him is literally paralyzed and he's unable to help himself. So as a result of that, there was people from the community. I gave them $7,000 to take him back to the hospital. But when he came back to the hospital, that was Thursday evening, there was no place for him at the hospital. And so then, from then he has been outside on the premises of the hospital in Linstead. Nobody took care for him. He just told me that he has been getting a little food from, the cook on the premises.
But here's where Mr. Moore's situation gets worse. The government homes are not accepting new wards because of the COVID-19 risk. The decision was taken last week to protect the current residents from outsiders who may have been exposed to the virus. The policy will be in place for another 4 weeks. So Mr. Moore can't look to state facilities for refuge at this time and will likely have to sleep on the streets. The reality of the situation hits home each time he tried to speak with us.
It's the last time I couldn't make it before I sleep last night. I sleep very people. And people say, boy, I will keep my ring gun blaze. I can't, but I come and I can't listen.
Neil Powell, the councillor for the Above Rocks Division in St. Catherine, was alerted to Mr. Moore's situation. He's well aware of the state's stance due to the viral threat.
And I'm seeking some assistance for him, because being as the infirmaries are not accepting any new residents at this time, I don't know, we are in a dilemma, and this gentleman in dire need of assistance. So I'm pleading to the relevant authority to see what can be done in this regard. He doesn't have anybody to care for him. I don't know where to turn as the councillor. I still have to represent him. I don't know what to do. I am confused.
Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
Job cuts have started in Jamaica's tourism sector as hotels and attractions reel from a massive downturn in business due to the coronavirus pandemic, which has ground travel to a halt. Our news center has been informed that several major hotels have started laying off staff. When contacted, senior strategist in the tourism ministry, Delana Sivright, revealed that hotels are scaling down operations after being hit by a significant number of cancelled bookings.
The global tourism industry, like the airline business and any business that relates to travel, is being battered by the coronavirus pandemic. What we're seeing in Jamaica is that some hotels and some attractions have had to essentially look at their staffing, look at their businesses, and consider either shutting down the businesses, scaling down operations, or other measures. For now, it appears that some hotels have decided to move in the direction of scaling down operations, and we expect to see more of that happening, not just in Jamaica, but across the Caribbean and the world.
And we now take a break on the Midday News. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Continuing the news now. Effective today, March 18, public passenger vehicles are required to carry one less passenger, while buses should only transport persons who are seated. This follows an announcement from Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Monday during a press briefing. The measure, which is expected to reduce the spread of the COVID-19 virus, will remain in effect for 7 days. Now, teams from the Transport Authority took to the streets this morning in an effort to ensure that taxi operators are complying with the measure. Corporate Communication Manager at the Transport Authority, Petra Keane-Williams, says so far the compliance rate is at 80%.
The passenger load is way less, so the operators really don't have the large pool of persons to transport. So the compliance rate is pretty good right now. And so we expect their full cooperation. I think persons are getting to understand the sensitivity of this matter, and we just trust that they continue to do as they're doing now, by abiding with the protocol.
When our news team visited Halfway Tree St. Andrew this morning, several taxi operators were seen complying with the imposed measure. Vehicles that usually carry 5 persons are now carrying 3 and 4 passengers. Not many passengers were seen on the buses. On to other news now. The police are seeking assistance from the public to identify this man and to find him. They believe that he can help with providing valuable information as to the whereabouts of Jasmine Dean. Jasmine Dean, who is visually impaired, was last seen on February 27. The police provided us with this photo. It appears it was taken from inside an ATM machine. They say they're following strong leads in this case. 2 bodies burnt beyond recognition were found in a car off the Portmore Toll Road last night. The St. Catharines South Police said sometime after 10 o'clock, a call was received about a fire on the Old Causeway Road. After the fire was extinguished, the remains were found in the trunk of the vehicle. And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
In the next edition of the Health Report, we look at precautionary measures for COVID-19.
It's also important, and I applaud our ministry, to have social distancing. It's something that I know a lot of people are frustrated about, but it's important to have social distancing. It's important to call ahead. Don't show up immediately to the doctor or to the hospital if you're starting to feel symptoms. It's important to call ahead so that appropriate requirements, appropriate measures can be taken to have you received at the hospital or at the medical center. We really want to minimize the exposure that we have in the taxis, in the bus, and at the hospital to all sorts of personnel.
That's the Health Report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's healthy living tip. Wash hands often and correctly. Keep social distance by avoiding close contact. Avoid touching face, including eyes, nose, and mouth. Cover cough or sneeze. Wear a face mask if you're sick. And stay home if you're sick.
Time now for sports. Members of the Jamaica Scorpions squad are now back in the island following their 7th and 8th round matches in the regional 4-day championship. The Jamaican franchise recorded an innings and 118-run win over the Leeward Islands Hurricanes in Antigua on Sunday in what could have been the final game of the season. But even as the team returned to the island after a 2-game trip, one play has grabbed the attention of many around the region.
Should there not be a completion of the regional 4-day championship due to the spread of the coronavirus in the region, Jamaican Jermaine Blackwood would end the tournament as the leading run scorer. In 8 games, the 28-year-old has amassed 768 runs, 114 more than Barbadian Kyle Mayers in second. But despite close to 800 runs, Blackwood got the triple figures just once when he scored 248 against the Leeward Islands Hurricanes in his last game.
Well, he was getting some half centuries before that, so I think for him, I think the double century was really the icing on the cake. I think it really, if he was hitting down the door, I think he probably burst the door open with that double century. But that aside, still, I think he still has a lot of work to do. I mean, you look at his average, it's still nothing to write home about it.
Blackwood's double century marked the 5th straight game that he was passing 50, and with the West Indies set to tour England in June, his improved form has come at the perfect time.
Well, every year since I've got I got dropped, that was always my plan, to always score runs and try to fight my way back in. But this year I take a slightly different approach, which is try to get my mental side a bit more, like in terms of batting longer and stay more patient. And as you can see, in most of the games I've been batting balls, and that was my plan.
For Blackwood, who is averaging 30.27 in 28 test matches, this could be the start of his way back into the West Indies setup.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashan Brown. Join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a wonderful afternoon.